Hi, welcome everyone to my Thursday night real estate investor hangout. I'm so glad you came tonight, and I'm glad you can listen and learn about real estate investing. It certainly has improved my financial situation in my life. So I want to share those thoughts with you and help you as you grow as a real estate investor. So my topic tonight is how to buy a rental property. So let me get the title up there so you can see it. It's a little bit high. That's up there on my whiteboard. How to buy a rental. That's what we're going to do tonight. But first, I'll tell you how you can find out about my show in case you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. Let me put this up here. You can join me at wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts. And that's how you register for this hangout. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can view with us every Thursday night live on this channel, wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts. So go and register there, and you can be on the show live. And we have a chat room and polls and other things that go on during the show. So it's a little more interactive than the YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Twitter, and I'll give you my Twitter handle there. You can follow me at the Pink Professor or at Pink Professor. And so there you'll see postings about various hangouts that we've done. Thank you so much for that. Looks like I have lipstick again. There we go. All right, let's get started. So tonight I have a show for you. I'm going to talk about 4 steps to finding your first rental property. Now, what I've been doing is talking about the steps to flipping and wholesaling in about the last 6 months, and we've interviewed quite a number of good flippers, house flippers. I'm going to continue to interview those as they become available and can fit onto our schedule. So you'll look forward to seeing those in the coming months as I interview more flippers. But in the meantime, for my regular training, I'm going to start into some rental property work for you so that you can go ahead and start looking at rental properties if that's something that you would prefer to do in terms of rather than flipping. And I'm going to go over tonight my real estate investor matrix. And the matrix helps you decide what are your best resources and how to use your best resources to help you in your investing. So I'm going to show you that in the first slide, and there'll be a link to that in the comments below the show after we produce it. And I'm also going to have a resource page coming up on my website, Wise Wealth University, so that any of the links that I talk about in the show will be posted there. Now, if I have a speaker, they'll have their own separate page. Like 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Brock Kelly. He has his own page giving you the links to the things he talked about in his interview. And so that's wisewealthuniversity.com/Brock Kelly, BrockKelly. And you can see the links and also usually a giveaway, PDF, spreadsheet, or something that the speaker is giving out for free to my listeners. So I hope you go there and check it out. I also have a free ebook, and I'll be talking about that later in the show, and I'll show you the link to the ebook. In fact, let me put it up right now because it's similar to the registration. So wisewealthuniversity.com/PV lending. PV lending. PV is for private. PV lending. And that will take you to the ebook. So I'd like everyone to get that. It really helps you in your investing once you can connect with some private lenders. All right, so I'm going to screen share tonight and go through the webinar. But first, just as an outline, let me move over and show you the 4 steps. Sorry about that light there reflecting. So the 4 steps I'm going to cover are find, fund, fix, and then tenant your property. So I'm going to do a brief overview tonight, and then in the coming weeks, we're going to go into detail about each of those steps. So this is kind of the, 35,000 foot view, and then we'll come down and look at each one separately. So just remember, find, fund, fix, and tenant. Those are the steps you need for your rental property. So let me go over and start a screen share, and we'll go through the slides tonight. So sit back, relax. If you have, a beverage, tea, coffee, something to keep you busy. Just relax, and I'm going to teach you some training on how to get your first rental property. All right, here we go. All right, I hope everyone can see the first slide. What I'm showing here in the first slide is my real estate investor matrix that I put together for my students. And what it teaches you to do is to first start with your strengths. And then that will teach you what kind of investor you need to start as. A lot of people say, well, I'd really like to flip, but I don't know, I don't have this or that. And they're confused in the beginning as to what to do to get started. So what I teach people to do, if you're new to investing, and it says it on the bottom of the PDF, use your resources wisely. The strongest resources you have, those are your strengths. Start with those and then move into other areas after that. So your resources are cash, credit, time, and skills. And so those are the resources. And then in green, I've put the 4 types of real estate investor that you can become. And of course, you can move into all of those later. So tonight, I'm going to talk about being a landlord or a landlady. And when you're a landlord, if you look at the black arrows on the matrix, and I think I can point to those, you'll be able to use your cash or someone else's cash, credit or someone else's credit, and the skills that you have or that you develop as a landlord. Okay, so cash, credit, and skills, that brings you into this landlord sphere here. All right, so you, as a landlord, you don't need as much time. Time is really important for wholesalers and for flippers. Okay, so as a landlord, you can do this with a little less time. If you have a full-time job, work into being a landlord or doing some wholesaling. If you have more cash and credit, you want to work on being a private lender. So those are the 4 types of things you can do in real estate, and those are the 4 resources you have to get you started. So I want to go to the next slide. Hopefully all these slide things will work here. All right, so step number 1 is about finding. So in the find step, we're going to first start by exploring. Now, this is assuming that you're brand new and you've never looked at some old houses that need to be remodeled or rented, or old rental properties. So call up some real estate agents and walk through as many deals as you can. Call several real estate agents, because you don't want to burn out one agent by looking and looking and looking and never buying from that particular person. So the picture I'm showing you here is from an REO tour. So when there were lots of REOs, I used to take new students out on tours, and we'd go through maybe 12 to 15 houses on a Saturday. And you see I've got the video camera in my hand. So as I walk through, I would videotape the house, and then I was able to look back when I made my offer and remember what needed to be fixed in that house. And this eliminates the clipboards and the notes and the pictures, not understanding the floor plan. If you have a video camera or your iPhone, you walk through the house and you talk to the camera while you're walking through. And now you're giving yourself notes about that particular house. So the only tool you really need is that video camera. And before you go in the house, shine the video camera at the number on the house so you remember which property it is. So in step number 1, go talk to some real estate agents, walk through as many deals as you can. You want a place that needs some work, definitely not the best house on the street, not the house that you wanted to live in. Okay, it's going to need some work if you're going to get a good deal. All right, the next thing I want you to do is call some wholesalers. This is also part of the finding part of your equation, your 4 steps. We're still in step 1. So I want you to find some wholesalers. How do you do this? I would look on Craigslist first thing. Then I would look at signs. Wholesalers love to put signs up around the neighborhoods where you're going to find a lot of properties. Now, sometimes they're wholesaling to a retail, I mean, not a retail buyer, to a flipper. But if they don't get a good enough price, a flipper's not going to buy it because it's much harder to buy that property, put money into it, and then flip it and have the sales cost and make a profit. If the wholesaler doesn't have enough spread in the deal, they can flip it to a landlord, and the profit from the landlord is going to come from the long-term hold and renting it to a tenant. So a landlord doesn't need as much spread between the purchase price and what the property's worth because they don't have any sales costs. They're not selling the property yet. So call some wholesalers and get on their mailing list. They will email you lists of properties that they have available, and I'm on the email list of 3 to 5 of these wholesalers, and that's a great way to find out what's going on in the market. If you do see something you're interested in, go look at the property, but that way you're not wasting the wholesaler's time because you already spent some time with your local agent looking at a bunch of different properties. Okay. Also, in the find step, you're going to make some offers, okay? It doesn't have to be a complicated offer that you make with a real estate agent. It can be a one-pager. You can have your own document. The wholesalers always have their own. The agents have their own. Don't worry so much about the contract at first. Just read through it and make sure that it's not unfavorable to you. If you have an attorney, have them read it over too, just to make sure there's nothing strange in that contract. But remember that the realtor is going to give you a state-sponsored contract, so it's going to have protection for the buyer and the seller. More often, it's the wholesaler where you might find a few clauses that protect the wholesaler and not you. So be careful with the wholesaler agreement and just read it through carefully. What I want you to do is make the offer in your own name or in a land trust initially. Okay, you don't have to use an entity. And again, the disclaimer is I'm not an attorney or an accountant, but you don't need an entity like an LLC to make an offer on a property, and you don't need an S Corp. Make some money first before you have the cost of setting up one of these things and doing the accounting and things that go with it. You can make the offer in a simple land trust. It is a separate document, and I'm going to talk about that in another show, and also interview someone who specializes in the land trust. But a land trust is basically a 4-page document. Google it, get one. If you're going to get a loan from a bank, which I'm going to talk about fairly soon, you won't be able to make the offer in the land trust. You'll have to have it in your name, get the loan in your name, and then transfer into a land trust the day you close the property. So that's how you handle those little things there. All right, in terms of how to make the offer. So make the offer in your name. So get comfortable with making offers. Okay, we're going to move now on to step 2. And step 2 talks about your credit. Ugh. Oh my goodness, most people don't want to think about this. All right, so here's how your credit is. You need to either repair it or use it the way it is. Even if you're going to go for a hard money loan, sometimes now they want to see some credit unless it's an incredibly good deal. So pre-qualify with a mortgage broker, a credit union, a bank, or a local hard money lender. So here's how it works with a hard money lender. If you buy a property with a hard money lender, you can rehab it and then refinance it with a bank for a much lower interest rate. And that way you'd be able to keep the property. So if you have bad credit, like the sign shows you, you're going to go off in the wrong direction. Get your credit repaired so you can go in the right direction with good credit. You can also reach out to a credit reporting agency, a credit repair agency, like in the red banner down there. If it's bad credit, we can help. So try to get it repaired. One way to get credit repair is to establish a credit card. I'm sure you all have one, but if you want one that's of use to you as a landlord or a landlady, you would want to get a Home Depot credit card. I will say that the Lowe's credit card is a little harder to get than a Home Depot. The Home Depot credit card is backed up by Citibank. The Lowe's credit card, I believe, is backed up by Chase. I've checked this recently, probably in the last 2 months. In order to get a Home Depot credit card, I checked online, your score has to be in the high 600s. Okay, so that anywhere from 650 on up, it's better if it's close to 700, but you could get a low minimum credit amount if you have a lower score. So apply for those, try to get one of them. It really helps when you need to do some repairs. Okay, so that's about your credit. And also in step 2, I'm going to talk to you about finding private lenders and also equity partners. Those would be one and the same. So in order to get started with that, I'm going to send you to get my ebook on private lending. So this gets you started. Read the ebook. It's a short PDF. And then from there, you will get probably 4 emails over the next 10 days, and they will help you use the information in the ebook and keep reminding you to reach out to your contacts and the right contacts that I want you to reach out to. It's all laid out for you in that ebook. So I encourage you to go get that. It's free on my website, and the little mini 10-day course is also free. So go ahead and get that. Here's the benefit of the private lenders. The hard money lender is going to cost you a lot more in interest and in points. So what you want to be able to do is have your own private lenders and your own equity partners to work with you. And we're going to go in depth in later trainings in the next few weeks on the REI Hangout about how to present to those private lenders, and what exactly they need to see in order to start working with you. Now, if it's a close friend or family or a partner who wants to work with you, you're all set. But you need a way to present those deals to them. And I will go over that presentation in a later training. So I've shown you here just a closing statement from a recent deal that we did, but I wanted you to see how a private lender works and shows up on a HUD for a property. Now, this property, I'm going to show it to you, was already sold, and we sold it back in March, a month ago. So it doesn't show the buy when you're buying it as a rental property, you would just be buying it and not selling it. But I'm showing you the sold HUD because I want you to see how the lender gets paid. If you do sell the property or refinance it to a lower interest rate, when you sell, the lender will get paid. It says principal balance to American Trust. That is an IRA lender, a self-directed IRA. And in this case, the lender lent $72,000. And for 10% interest, that was the interest that this IRA account received, $3,274.52. So that's what they received directly from escrow. This was kind of a special deal on this property. If you look down below, there's payoff of another loan. Okay, that loan was a subject to deal. When we bought this property, there was a loan in place. The owner had passed on, and the people that were handling the property were willing to sell it with the loan in place. So we kept paying Auckland loan servicing for 3 or 4 months until we got it rehabbed. We just made the payments, and when we got it rehabbed, they were paid off. They got their escrow and their interest besides the interest that we were paying them. And just keep the payments current if you do anything on a subject to deal. So if anyone's wondering if you can buy a property subject to, I just want you to know that it does happen, and here's a recent proof just from back in March 2015. So if you're watching it on the replay, you might see, you might be few months from now, it is definitely possible to do a subject to deal and keep paying on that particular loan. So anyway, that's how your private lender gets paid. We're going to move now into step 3. And step 3 is the fixing phase, okay? So we did how to find it, how to fund that particular deal, and then now we're going to talk about how to get the house fixed up so that it's ready for your tenant. So I encourage you to look at some YouTube videos. There's all kinds of videos about repairing properties. But what I want you to keep in mind is this. You are not fixing this house to flip to a retail buyer who has a lot of money. You're fixing this house up as a rental property. So the standards are a little different. I don't want to say lower, but in a sense they are. They're not as critical. They're looking for the right price, the right place to live, school system, the right size, the right number of bedrooms is really the most critical thing for a tenant. So you want it to be clean and nice, but you don't want it to be perfect. Okay, you don't want to put so much money in it that you're going to lose money while you're renting out this property. So there are some tools, some free analysis tools that are available to you on the internet. So I'm going to post that as well in the comments below the video so that you can go ahead over and check out that free analysis software. I'm also going to put it on the resource page on my website, wisewealthuniversity.com/resources. I don't have that page up yet, so don't run over there if you're watching this right in April 2015, but it will be up in the next few weeks. So the other thing you can do is go to Home Depot and look at prices of particular items. In other words, if you have to redo the whole kitchen because the kitchen's ripped out, you do need to know what that costs, or if you need to fix the shower or things like that. So it's good to find out what the prices are at Home Depot. And like I said, watch some videos on YouTube and it shows you different things you can do for a tenant property. And it all depends on the neighborhood. So you can always call a few rentals that are listed in the neighborhood where you like to buy a property and ask the owner what kind of amenities they have there. I would suggest if you're looking for a property like this that you don't get one with a pool. It just makes it more complicated when you have a tenant. So that's something to avoid. Now I just thought of something on the first picture that I showed you, and I'm going to go back and look at that picture in a moment when we finish. Okay, so also in step number 3 is to interview some contractors or a handyman. You're going to need someone to walk through the house with you and tell you what it would cost to get it fixed up. Probably paint and carpet are your 2 main things, and learn to source these with inexpensive handyman. Remember, you're not doing a full remodel on this house. Outline your list of work that you want and have them bid on your list. Don't ask them to write a bid on their paper because you'll never be able to compare it with other contractors. So outline the list of work you want done and have them put prices next to those pieces of work. So I threw up this handyman picture here because kind of a jack of all trades. He's going to get everything done for you. You might want to get a licensed plumber and electrician just to do the plumbing and electrical work. All right, so also in step 3 is buy it, because when you buy it, you're going to start fixing. So remember, step 3 is fixing up the property. You're going to buy a deal from an agent that's listed on the MLS or a wholesaler. So really what you want to do is get that property, get some offers out there, check out the ones you want, get the best deal you can, and really get started. Make sure that your expenses are covered by the rent that you can get in the area. So you can go to Rent-A-Meter, and I think it's called something else now. There's another website. And you can look at Craigslist as well to find out what the typical rents are in your area. I think there's one called Property Expert. That's another website that can tell you what the rent is in the area. But you want to make sure that your expenses are covered. A really, really quick and dirty way to think about it is to use the 1% rule. Now, what happens with the 1% rule is that the rent should be 1% of the total cost that you pay for the house. So if you buy a house for $100,000, the rent should be at least $1,000 in that area to make the house cash flow for you. Now, here in Southern California, of course, with our high prices, we don't fit into the 1% rule. We are less than 0.5%. If you look at houses in the Midwest, in Detroit, you might be able to get up to 2% if you find really good deals in Ohio and places like that. So 1% is kind of your cutoff. If you're in the 1% area, you should actually look at your real expenses and make sure that it works for you. If you're up in the 2% area, you don't even have to calculate out your real expenses. So that's what that analysis tool is for. The one that I talked about in the prior slide is that analysis tool will help you put in all your expenses and make sure that you're on the right track. Okay, now I'm going to go to slide number 4. Okay, now we get to step number 4, putting in a tenant. So step number 4 is tenant your property. You're going to keep it as a rental. So some of the steps that you need to do is you need to advertise for a tenant. You're going to need to screen that tenant once you find some prospects. You're going to have to show the property to them as well as screen. You're going to have to then accept one of the tenants, choose one of them after you do good screening. And then you're going to have to come up with a lease and a condition form to give to the tenant when they move in, and have a reliable way for them to pay you monthly. Okay, you can manage it yourself if you want to when you get started. After you get a couple of them, I suggest you get a property manager. They take away the headaches while you can focus on acquiring more properties. So and I'm going to go into all of these details in depth on future Hangouts, where I dive deep into the different things you need to do. So this is the 35,000 foot view, and we're going to get into details on another REI Hangout on Thursday night. So hopefully if you do all those things correctly, you can get started, rinse and repeat, and buy your next rental property. Hopefully you're going to get mostly the type of tenants that are on the left-hand side of the page, and not the type of tenants on the right-hand side of the page where you have to evict them. So the more attention you pay to screening your tenants and setting out some firm rules and having those rules in the lease and following those rules, kind of like kindergarten, if you think about it, the better off you're going to be, and you're going to have a lot more of the kind of tenants on the left side and eliminate the ones on the right side. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not trying to say that being a landlord is all roses. So these things do happen, but I want to make sure that they don't happen to you if you follow all the steps that we're going to go through. So I'm going to go back to this step 1 here, because I had a picture in there and I think it's been lost. All right. I did have a picture of one of the first houses that I worked on. In fact, I'll put this one up here. This is one of the other houses, but I had a picture of the first house that I bought, not as an owner, and it wasn't my first rental, but it was a house that I bought to be a rental property. Some of the houses I had before I had bought to live in, and then they were rental properties later as I moved, because I just kept them. I didn't move on. So I moved on and kept them as a rental. So what I wanted to say about my first rental property is I bought it from another investor who was wholesaling it to me. They knew the area quite well, and they knew how to find the right properties and in the right areas. And I bought it from them. Even got the references for the contractor from them, as well as the loan officer. So I was able to get that first rental property relatively easily. It's not, I don't still own the property. It's an area that had gone downhill, so I got rid of it. And I'll just say, sometimes I ask my interviewees, what gives you the right to tell us about this? So I'll answer the question for you. At one time in the middle of the last decade, 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I owned upwards of 60 units of rental property. So I had 60 tenants paying me each month. So I've been through all the ups and downs of being a landlord. I've downsized some of those properties, lost some with the downturn, because basically a lot of my tenants couldn't pay me, and I wasn't able to keep up with all the different mortgages. So right now I'm rebuilding that rental property portfolio, as well as doing a lot of flips to generate cash. So that's kind of the ups and downs of being a landlord. You need to follow certain rules in terms of what types of property to acquire, how many to acquire, and how to handle your tenants. So we're going to go over that in training in future trainings. So I want to go back to that slide, my last slide there. Make sure you don't get the world's worst tenants, but get those nice people on the left, and make sure you have a rental agreement. And that is one of the things that keeps you from having the world's worst tenants. So I'm going to stop the slideshow at this point and go back and check the chat. Let me see if we have any people who asked a question in the chat. And then I'm going to go ahead and, hi everyone, I'm back. All right, so let me go over to the chat room, and I'm going to also put up a poll for you. Load up this poll. So the poll, questions on the side, if you're watching the replay on the link, you'll see those. If you're watching on YouTube, you won't see the poll. But anyway, it asks, how many deals have you done? 0. 1 to 3 wholesales is another answer. 1 to 3 rentals. 4 to 10 wholesales or rentals. And then 10 or more deals. So I'm trying to gauge the audience and figure out, who I'm talking with, and have people engage, and also they can chat with each other in the chat room. So that's the poll. I'm going to leave that up I'll put it back in a minute. Just going to check on the chat room, and there's no questions there. So I'll go back to the poll. If you have a chance, go ahead and fill out the poll. Remember, I'm just trying to find out how many deals you've done. A lot of people haven't done any, and that's why they're coming to this as new investor training. So the other thing I want to do is show you for the new investors is how to get my ebook. Let's see, just I'm gonna click on that too. There we go. All right, so here's how to get the ebook. You can click on the link here, and you can download it right here in the webinar. If you're watching the replay, you'll be able to get that ebook. So it's a step-by-step ebook to find private lenders. And if you aren't on the webinar and you're not on the replay, and you are watching this from YouTube, go ahead to Wise Wealth University down here .com/PV lending, and you'll be able to download the ebook and get my 10-day course, and that'll help you along with getting private lenders and also partners who can join with you in building your rental portfolio. Remember, there's a lot of people who don't want to do all the details of the investing, but they would like to earn some money, so they can really be your bank. If you find people who have, they can use an IRA that they have from a previous job, and they can move their old 401k from a previous employer into a self-directed IRA company. Again, that's going to be on my resource page. I'm right now compiling a list of various self-directed IRA companies with all the links, so you can go there and see the size of the company, how many accounts they have, and it'll just make it easier for you when you want to. I'm going to make it also as a PDF, so you can give it to potential private lenders that you have and let them know that they can move a 401k from a previous lender into a self-directed IRA account. And then they have complete control over the type of investments that they can make once they have that account. So, and that, again, that HUD sheet that I showed you was a private lender who had moved their 401k from a prior job into a self-directed IRA account. And I'll just shameless plug, that particular account is at UDirect IRA Services. So UDirect IRA is the name of the company. Anyway, there's quite a few of those. There's probably 30 in this country, in the US, that do direct IRA services for real estate investors. So you'll be able to go ahead and let people know that they can use a self-directed account. You can also just open a straight IRA for yourself. It's not connected to your 401k, and start putting money into that account. All right, so let me go over here and just show you back. All right, so let me show you how to find Hangouts. If you're watching this on YouTube and you'd like to join us every Thursday night at 6 p.m., I do a real estate investors hangout. You can go to wisewealthuniversity.com/hangouts. And when you go there, you'll be able to register for the hangout, get a link, and join in. We do have chats and polls and sometimes free giveaways, and those are posted during the webinar. So again, and you can follow me on Twitter at Pink Professor, and I post various links to previous hangouts that I've had, and I do post tips and tricks that you can use in your real estate investing. As well, you can go to YouTube and go to wisewealthuniversity.com and subscribe to that channel. I have a playlist there, and in the playlist, it shows every single hangout that I've done. They started back in October 2014. If you follow that playlist along, you'll have a really good sense of how to get started in real estate. And that's my gift to you. Go and watch those hangouts and get started. If you need some coaching, I do have coaching available, and that's /coaching, wisewealthuniversity.com/coaching. Go check out that page. I have a free assessment that you can fill out. And once I see the assessment, you can schedule a 30-minute strategy session. It usually goes over, let's be honest. I spend more time with you than 30 minutes. And schedule that on a Google Doc. Pick a time that's convenient for you. And we'll talk about your situation and how I can help you and coach you to be a successful real estate investor. So I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the show. We do it every Thursday night. And go out and find your first rental property. There's 4 steps: find, fund, fix, and tenant. And keep coming back on Thursday night. We'll go in depth into all those 4 steps, and also start interviewing some real estate investors who have large rental portfolios, as well as some property managers, so you can hand off that management task to the property manager, and they will share with you some of the tricks and tips that they have on getting good tenants, and then keeping those tenants in the property and paying. So thank you everyone for coming tonight, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye-bye.